Well, I'm always surprised how many people want to collect Disney items and then Disneyland specific items. It's not because you want to collect something, it's because you want to have a connection with Walt Disney. You can do that through art, physical items that were at Disneyland that were designed by the Imagineers that Walt guided. And to a person who can only have a small item or a large item, this is typically a very, very good type of auction where there's something for everybody here at any kind of a price level. But I think it all comes out the same to me, that it's more of a connection with Walt. And that's more of a heartfelt type of collection rather than, say, a collection for profit. So this is an entirely different collection. And when I walk in here, it's almost too much nostalgia, because I started in 1954 with Walt Disney, and I designed some of the items that you see here, some of the artwork, along with all the other Imagineers at that time. So this is kind of a wistful trip into history, if you will, that I sometimes forget about, because you're always busy designing things. You know, you can design it, build it, operate it, and then move on to the next thing. And this is a reminder, look back at some of the things that all of our Imagineers did. I can only use the word, it's a wistful feeling in a way.
Was there anything that got you a little choked up, or you felt a little emotional about?
Yes, overall, just walking in here, it was like, oh my God, I remember some of this stuff. And then looking around a little closer, I saw one item that I did not ever know existed. And it's a small thing. I designed a little antique vehicle for the Global Van Lines company. They wanted to have some kind of sponsor representation on Main Street. The best way to do that, have an old car. Well, now you get your signage on the vehicle, so I designed that. Modern materials, but an older car. And I find in this auction, not only is there a model, a little cardboard box that came in, there's an ashtray with beautiful artwork based upon the design I made for that. So I'm watching that little item like a hawk, and I didn't know such a thing existed.
So you may be bidding?
Well, I'm going to see what I can do about twisting arms or whatever, and see how far I get. But that did intrigue me. I had not seen that.
Are there any other items you think you might bid on?
I'm not entirely sure. First off, I'm not a collector, but I do have a bit of a collection. I have one of the original 12 Mr. Toad cars. There was a car sold here, I believe, several years ago. I owned that car 13, 18 years ago. I had two of them. I sold one, and then I kept one. Mine's a little bit better than the car that was sold, so it made me keep that car even more close, because it's not there to sell. It's that I can wake up every morning, go in my dining room where I keep it. The car's name is Winky, and I say, hey Winky, do you remember opening day? Well, that's a connection. That's heart connection. Yes, it's an item that could be auctioned, but no, it's a connection and it stays in my house. It's as simple as that.
What is your favorite project or your favorite thing you did for Disneyland?
Oh, obviously the fire engine on Main Street, because we had a little horse-drawn fire engine. It wasn't very practical as far as, say, handling guests on the street. So we took it out of service, and then in 1958, Walt was in my office one day, and I said, hey, Walt, there's something we don't have. We don't have a fire engine on Main Street. No, Bobby, we don't. And about 20 minutes later, the accounting department phones up and says, Walt was just here. Here's the account number for the new fire engine project. So it turned out later, Walt wanted a fire engine, but he always said what's going to be in the park. So I'm the only person of record that got something in the park that was not his choice. But if you look at the historic pictures of Walt, every time he had important dignitaries, he was driving the fire engine.
That's right.
Because I had a hunch it'd be something like that. He had an art director, Ward Kimball. Mm-hmm. Long before I went to Disney, I drove Ward Kimball's 1916 American La France fire engine in a parade in Temple City one day, and so I thought, oh, I'd love to have a fire engine someday, and then that opportunity came. I got my fire engine, and it's on Main Street, and that's my best favorite attraction.
That's fantastic. Now, the horse-drawn fire engine inside the fire station at Disneyland, is that the original?
That's the original, yes. That's a very authentic. In fact, everything in the firehouse is so authentic. A lot of people don't realize that if you go in there and study everything that's in there. Because Walt was really enjoyed fire apparatus. And I think that kind of set the stage. The fact, yeah, if we had a little fire engine, we don't have to have one of the horses, then he could actually drive it. In fact, the last photograph while he was at Disneyland before he passed away was taken in the fire engine. That last photograph.
That's amazing.
So it's a very poignant fact.
Do you have a special memory of visiting Disneyland with Walt Disney or being at Disneyland with Walt Disney?
Everything is a complete blend of everything that goes on. 'Cause, you know, you see him all the time. You're involved with him all the time. Not necessarily meetings, but he would walk around to your office, see what you're doing. Just have little conversations here and there. Sometimes we'd be someplace where we go someplace and I drive the car. He sits in the back seat. You know, we're all used to him. You know, it wasn't like anything super different. It was very ordinary in a way because he just had a normal behavior with people. So you never gave it a thought as like, oh my God, this is Walt Disney. It wasn't like that at all. We're all working on the same stuff. He's kind of a head idea guy. You know, he's always paying attention to everything that's going on. Not a guy that gives orders. He doesn't order something. He'll walk up to people and says, we're thinking of doing something. Now, what do you think if? And he'd engage people in their conversations. What do you think if? That way you get people to contribute their ideas. You know, whether they work or not, doesn't much matter. But he's getting the ideas out of people. Those are the big memories, especially when we'd be down at Disneyland. And he'd walk along with some of the guys taking notes. You know, his eye was looking at everything, making, is this as good? How can we improve that? And he'd walk on and he says, oh, let's do more of that. Okay, well, we ought to move that, you know, it'll look clever. We change that. And the guys would make all these notes. The next day it's all done. So he had a personal attention to Disneyland, walking through it as if he was a guest. That's an unusual talent to do that. And that allowed him to guide people. So that Disneyland had a certain authentic, heartfelt feel to it because his fingerprints were all over it.
Wow. Well, I just can't thank you enough. This
is
so fascinating. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And thank you for all of your contributions to Disneyland. Us fans cannot thank you enough.
Doing the whole thing.
Thank you.
That's why today when I go down there and the fire engine goes by, Steve's driving the fire engine, he'll stop and we wait.
I'll never look at the fire engine the same way again.
And then sometimes I'll have a tour group down there and I wait for Steve to pull up and park and then come on, put everybody in the car, I'll drive you all the way up and back, you know.
I'll never look at the fire engine the same way again. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. All right.